Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of My African Mum and Me. This episode is about our past, so essentially what it was like for us as children individually back in the day. What we're going to be talking about is essentially what my childhood was like from my perspective as well as my mom's perspective, particularly when you first came to the UK, and also what my mom's childhood was like back in Nigeria where she grew up. So let's kind of start from when I was a child and when you first came to the UK. So what was it like when you first arrived?
British people love children and they love babies, so they're always very happy to help, asking if you need help, And as soon as Auntie Chinwe came for us, and we went to her place and we settled down, went shopping, and everyone that saw you wanted to touch your hair. But your hair was very beautiful. I went to stay with Uncle Amechi in Rugby, and that was where you celebrated your first birthday. That was really exciting. And we had to invite Auntie Ada, and Neme. She came from London, and we invited your friends who lived around us at the time.
I don't remember any of them though.
I know you won't. It was they were so excited to see. I don't think they see a lot of black babies. So they were very, very overwhelmed, very excited. And I also remember that was the first day you took your first step. That was the very first day you took your first step. It was really very exciting and very funny.
Why do you think I started walking on that particular day?
I think many
my
kids,
first birthday?
I suppose many kids were around, they were walking around, so you wanted to walk like them as well. And then you took your first step, fell, took your first step again, and you were excited.
So how did you find, obviously you're an immigrant in a new country and you have to obviously deal with the fact that you're a single mother.
Yes, that was hard.
How did people, what was people's reception to you with all those things, being an immigrant, a woman and a single mom?
They were very friendly, very, very welcoming, particularly with, once you have a child, once you have a child with you, they always want to help. They will go to every extent, every length to make sure the child never suffers.
So what was the most challenging part, of my childhood?
I think the most challenging part, I would say, was when I had to go to do my conversion, my pharmacy conversion exam, North of England, and I had to leave you in the south. First of all, I had to go and sort my accommodation. Then I had to leave you with my friend, and you didn't understand what was happening, and you cried a lot, and that broke my heart. And when I went to sort my accommodation out for just about a week, I had to come back, and then to go back for studies and all that was a big problem. And each time I came, you became very clingy because you knew I was not going away again. I didn't want me to go.
But Mum, the thing is that I appreciate the fact that you did that because if you didn't do that conversion, some people might say, oh, how can you leave your child and go to uni? Yes. But actually, if you didn't do that, we wouldn't have been in a better position.
That's true.
Going forward.
That's
so
right.
it's a sacrifice that had to be made, really. Do you understand?
But you were happy in the end, though. You're a very strong child, very strong fufu.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, especially when I was living with Roy and Tracy, the white couple.
Yes.
I thought Roy and Tracy were someone in my classes.
Their daughter was in class.
Yes.
So it made it much
their
easier.
daughter, there's this couple, their daughter was in my class in primary school, and I stayed with her and her parents because they were registered childminders.
Yeah,
that's
registered,
right.
that's right.
And so I stayed with them for how long?
Just a few months.
I really enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, I missed you.
I know.
But it was interesting to
I was
live.
comfortable that you were not crying again because you used to cry when I leave.
And also,
you didn't cry.
it was interesting to live with a white family because it was a different dynamic.
Yes.
Like you always say to me that as soon as I lived with them and came back to you, I started eating stuff like Yorkshire pudding, shepherd's pie, all the African stuff went out the window.
Yes, stop eating all the African food.
And it's funny because even now, it's like I eat both things. Like I love jollof rice, but I love roast dinner.
You love roast dinner, I know,
so
that's
much.
your favorite.
So, I think that time,
Grandma
your
used to
formative years, you pick up
things. And
things
grandma used to find it funny.
Do you know what my earliest memory is as a child? There's two things. One of them is I was laying down on my back and I can see outside of the window is a blue sky with greenery outside of the window.
That was Rugby.
No, wait, with the red room with white dots.
Oh, that's Hess Road.
How old was I then?
You were just 1+.
Wow. That's one memory. A second memory is, and I don't even know if this is a dream or not, but I remember being quite high and in a kitchen that was wooden and it was yellow, and then the blinds had white and yellow stripes,
That
and
was rugby.
outside there was like high hay, there was like high grass.
That was rugby.
That was rugby.
Yeah.
So how old was I then?
You just won. You just turned 1.
So which one came first?
Rugby, of course.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I just turned 1.
You remember that very well because you're correct.
And there's no pictures from that time, so I couldn't have seen a picture.
No pictures. Well, they wouldn't take pictures of the kitchen though.
Okay, so let's talk about the time when we moved to Welling.
Okay.
So Welling is a place not too far from Erith actually, that's in Bexley Borough in southeast London, and at the time it was the headquarters of the BNP, the British National Party. So how did you find living in that area as a single parent black woman, you know?
I must be honest, when we came there, we didn't have a clue. They were not very active. They had a bookshop which was literally closed all the time. I think everybody just knew that it was inappropriate for them to keep operating at the time, you know.
But was it BNP or was it NF?
No, BNP. It was definitely BNP.
Okay.
They didn't have a signpost there, mind you, no signpost, because people frowned at it. It was something people frowned at. So they were not proud to display the name BNP there. But they operated. They had a pub apparently next to them.
Okay, where I had my party.
Where you had your 6th birthday party. And I remember booking it. I didn't know they were BNP. I was very innocent. I booked it and everything was hunky-dory, everything was fine. And then suddenly one lady came to me and said to me, "Oh, by the way, do you know this is BNP?" And I said, "Really?" He said, "Oh, and we're having something as well, if you don't mind." I said, "Well, I don't mind. You can do your own, I'll do my own."
So wait, was she telling you to
Yeah.
leave? Or?
No, she wanted to let me know so I can make a choice.
Oh, I see.
And then the thing is, all your friends were all whites anyway. Your classmates were all whites, and they all came for the birthday party. Their mothers were there, so it wasn't just that. It was only black people. It was, you know.
I was the only black, wasn't I?
You were the only black person actually, and I was only black mom as well. So I think that made it less, you know, controversial.
Did you experience any form of racism as I was a child growing up?
And I would say I did. However, when you were in the playgroup, when we were in Bexley, a little girl, you were 2+, going to 3, and they said somebody called you black girl, and they came home and told me that, and they thought it was an abuse, and I said, "Who said that?" He said, "One of the children." And I thought, what does a 2-year-old person know? 2 rising 3. So I had to report to Mrs. Hunt, who was your head teacher at the time in that little play group, and she was really shocked and embarrassed. And
How did I tell you?
he just came to me and said, "Mom, one girl said you black girl," and I said, "Really?" So you just repeated what they said. Do you understand? And Mrs. Hunt was very, very embarrassed, and then decided to tell the parents of the child to write an apology letter to me, and the child too had to apologize to you. Mrs. Hunt said, "Oh, she doesn't condone such things. She doesn't like, you know."
So what did you say to me? Like, how did you explain
Oh,
that situation?
I just said to you, "Don't mind her. She's just being naughty." That's what I said.
No,
to
what
you.
did I say?
He said, "Okay." You didn't take it seriously, but you fought your corner. You didn't take nonsense. Anybody who tries to be nasty to you, you fought your corner. You were not intimidated at all.